Hello, welcome back, and thank you for tuning in. We're going to look at something very, very practical today, and I hope very, very uplifting. Now, of course, this can apply to every single video that is ever recorded and published here, because I do hope that it uplifts you and inspires you to practice, to keep going. In other words, to forgive yourself and the Son of God, because it's the same. You're the same thing. And keep going. Because there are days, there are always days, there are moments where it doesn't feel at all. I mean, sometimes it's very pronounced that it doesn't feel like any of this is working. And you may find yourself from time to time, perhaps today it's going on for you live, thinking, why am I doing this? Nothing's working. So let's address that and how you actually can tell that you're on the right track, how you actually know that this is working. So, a couple of points here. First of all, here in the world, we're trained to want to see things, see them with the body's eyes, see them in a bank account statement, see results in the world based on what we have done or managed to struggle or strive for, or even if it was handed to us, we're conditioned to see what we call tangible and what we call real things, like bigger houses, more money, a greater influence on social media as defined by a number, which hopefully continues to increase. All of those things. So enter our spiritual practice where we run into the fact that we really aren't seeing things as they are here in the world. And our practice, whether it involves A Course in Miracles or not, is about learning to see things differently. Because deep down, we all want the exact same thing, and that is the peace of God. Whether we choose to acknowledge this openly or not, whether we choose to say it to ourselves or not, that's what we all want. And we can say that with 100% certainty because that's all there is. Of course, it's what we all want. So, here in the world, what we call a miracle as we study this course, they all show up. Miracles show up as signs that we're learning under the right guidance, under the guidance of our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit. Now, our learning is invisible. Our learning is invisible. We cannot see it with the body's eyes, and we cannot see it with our facts, our numerical facts and figures, and what we refer to here in the world as tangible, solid, real items. We can't see our learning in that way. But what we can see, and how we determine that we are, in fact, learning, is through our results, through the results of our learning. That's how we can see. So, for example, I invite you, no matter how long you've been studying this course, or if you are not a course student, this video is still for you because you are on what we call the spiritual path and you're interested in this video. And let's think back here and take a look at who you were, where you were, perhaps mentally, spiritually, emotionally, when you began your practice. Now, if you're a course student, where were you when you first picked this material up and took an interest in it? And where are you now, even if it was just yesterday that you started? For many of you, it was decades. So this exercise offers even more opportunity to take a look at the results. We can tell that we're making what we call progress on the path by the results of our forgiveness, by the results of our showing up and extending love to the Son of God, by the results of our allowing the Holy Spirit to run the entire show, all of our experience and getting out of our own way, because we clearly get in our own way. It's the results. So it's always worthwhile. And it's very worthwhile when you're having one of those days where it feels like nothing's happening. That is so common. And perhaps you have a number of those in succession, or perhaps you haven't had one for a long time, but wherever you find yourself, it's always worth thinking about who you were when you set out on this journey. Who were you when you began, and who are you now? Who do you appear to be now? How do you show up? Are you, in fact, more loving? Are you more forgiving? Are you calmer? That's a very interesting and important measuring stick, isn't it? Are you more chill? Do the same things get to you? Might help to think of situations or people that used to frustrate, annoy, or anger you. And after a period of time of true forgiveness and your spiritual practice and extending love to the Son of God, does that situation, does that person, does that event bother you now? Or is it something that you simply have moved on from and forgiven, and it no longer bugs you? That's quite common if we stick to it. In fact, that's exactly what happens is we experience a change in the way that we ourselves see people and situations. Whereas before we saw only the drama and everything that annoyed us, with persistent, honest, and diligent practice, these situations cease to bother us because we begin to trust, relax, and trust the guidance of our inner teacher. And we learn as we put this course into practical application that everything that we do, ourselves or anyone else, is either an expression of love or a call for love. Someone's poor behavior that used to annoy you is a call for love. Does that behavior now annoy you after you've gone to work on yourself and your mind and forgiven, 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 forgiven? And this is a way that you can tell, that you can see by the results that your practice is working. Also, how do people appear to see you? When you're more loving, you are far more likely to get receptivity as a return when you walk down the street oozing and emanating the Holy Spirit's love. People will respond to you more lovingly. And at worst, someone who's having a horrid day will want to get away from you. Now, by contrast, if you walk down the street with a scowl on your face, emanating and oozing hatred, disgust, blame, venom, fear, all of that, then people are not going to want to have anything to do with you. At best, they will get away from you thinking, oh my God, this person's really having a day. Or worse, they'll think that you're a bad person. Insert a pejorative name, profanity, right? Insert that. They'll think that's what you are. Or at worst, they'll want to engage you in your own drama. And there's quite a contrast. How do you tell this is working? By the results. How do people treat you after you've been on the path and actually done, put into practice some forgiveness, true forgiveness of the Son of God under the guidance of the Holy Spirit? How do people see you? How do you see yourself? Those are results. This is how we tell that this is working. And if you're having one of those moments or one of those days or weeks or months, years even, then I invite you to think about who were you then? What were you like? What bothered you? Does that bother you now? Who are you now? How much change have you seen? We can't see the invisible, but we can tell by the effects, by the results that we're learning, that what we're doing is working. And we can't see our strengths either, but we can tell that we have them as they inspire us to act. Hmm. This course, as you might have gathered, is all about practical application. The interesting thing, and I happen to think the genius of A Course in Miracles, is the fact that it is a self-study curriculum. We take what we wish to take at a given time. In other words, we take what we're willing to take at a given time. Under the guidance of our inner teacher, it is not a religion. It is not a cult. There is no top-down hierarchy. I'm not in charge of you, thankfully. We're all in charge of our own mind. It's a very grown up, it's a very adult. And spirituality is an adult endeavor, whether you practice this course or not, whatever traditions you may or may not practice in any combination or one or whatever. It's all about taking responsibility for our mind, for our entire experience, which may seem sometimes like a chore. But my hope is that you get an idea, even if it's just a glimpse of how powerful and beautiful that really is, because you are in control. We claim to want that here in the world, but we cede that all of the time. We give that power away when we feel that the world's out to get us, that we, ego, self, are the center of everything, and everything and everyone is naturally opposed to us, and we're the victim of the world we see. We're not the victim of the world we see. You are not the victim. If you happen to be playing that today, know that you're not, that you could set that aside. You could choose to do that for sure. So, our learning's invisible, our strengths are invisible, our inner teacher is also invisible. The Holy Spirit is not an image that we can see. But what we can see are the results of his presence. How do people perceive you? How do they look at you and treat you and respond to you? How do you respond to them? Are you more loving? Are you more calm? Are you more chill and relaxed and patient? We're not able to see our inner teacher with the body's eyes, but what we can see are the results of our practice. That is how we can all tell that our practice is working. Mm. So, my hope in offering this message is that it may give you some comfort because these days, as a practical matter, where we don't feel like anything is working at all, and we may begin to question why we're even doing this in the first place, these days come up. They come up for all of us. And this, on my own particular journey, has been very, very helpful for me to think of who I was back when I first started this course, was drawn to it, and really drawn to it, and began to practice it. And where am I now? So, in my own situation in this lifetime, it's been a decade. It's been, well, slightly over 10 years now. I'm a vastly different person. The changes are in fact monumental, and there's nothing special about me. All that I wish to convey to you is that we're all capable of this. I mean, Jesus himself says there's nothing special about him. There's nothing that we cannot do that he's done. We're capable of doing everything that he has done. And what's more is that he believes in our ability to do all of this. He's certain of it. So let's take heart in that. There's nothing that I've done in the last 10 years that you cannot also do. There's nothing special about me, as I'm fond of saying, as it's coming up again. This is a pixelated image on your screen. I mean, it is. It's what we're all looking at as we look at our devices. These dots, these electronic dots are assembled in the image of a dude who happens to live in a place called Arizona, in a place called the United States, North America, whatever, middle-aged, whatever. When something lands, it's the Holy Spirit. It's your inner teacher. Inner, that's the emphasis here. We do this course under the guidance of our inner teacher who directs us if only we allow him to do so. So let's do that. Are you a different person today as compared with when you started out? Are you more loving? Are you more forgiving? Are you calmer and more relaxed? These are questions that we can ask ourselves, and we can tell that our practice is effective. We can tell that it's working by the results. All right, so As always, if there are questions about this particular topic or anything related to your spiritual path or A Course in Miracles, I'm here to help. I'm here to serve as a guide for you. So please don't hesitate to ask. And even if you simply wish to drop in and say hello, that's also more than welcome. So please go ahead and do that here. We've had a number of really, really great discussions right here on YouTube in the comment thread. So if you have not yet subscribed, I'd love to have you do that. Please join us. This is the subscription prompt in the corner of your screen. Click that arrow, hover over that arrow. You'll be prompted to subscribe and join us here. So please do that. We'd love to have you. Several videos appear each week here in the longer format on YouTube. All right. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.